To escape the chaos of the coastal resorts, my girlfriend Liam and I took a week off to explore the mountainous interior of northern Thailand. We weren't in an air-conditioned car. We were on a flimsy 125cc scooter, two pale targets baking under the tropical sun. This vulnerability was the key to our terror. We found a remote, winding route deep into the mountains, just dusty red earth and jungle canopy. The air was thick and humid, and the only sound was the whine of the little engine. It felt like freedom, until the first incident. We rounded a blind corner on a particularly isolated ridge. There were three men standing next to a broken-down motorbike blocking the road. They weren't flagging us down for help. They were just standing there, hands in their pockets, faces still. We slowed. Liam whispered, "Don't stop, don't stop." As we edged past, the air thickened. One of the men took a slow, deliberate step into our path, reached into his trousers, and produced a thick, rusted machete. That was my cue. I wrenched the throttle. The scooter spat gravel and surged forward. The man with the machete shouted something sharp in Thai, and I heard the quick, frantic patter, patter, patter of two other pairs of feet running behind us. We weren't fast enough. The second man had a heavy piece of lumber. He swung it at the back wheel. It slammed into the fender with a sickening clang, nearly sending us skidding off the edge of the ridge. I kept the bike straight by instinct, driving like a maniac for the next 3 kilometers until the silence of the jungle finally closed in behind us again. We spent the next day shaken, sticking only to paved roads, convinced our luck had run out. But the following afternoon, we decided to visit a secluded, historic temple complex high in the hills. The path was tiny, just a stone walkway bordered by deep jungle foliage. We parked the bike and started walking. The silence here was different. It wasn't peaceful. It was listening. We kept hearing faint rustling sounds, not monkeys or birds, but something heavier, moving parallel to us just beyond the trees. Then a man stepped onto the path ahead of us. He was dressed in dusty work clothes, smiling wide. He gestured deeper into the jungle, speaking quickly in Thai, clearly trying to lead us off the main path toward the temple. "Guide? You want guide?" he repeated in broken English, his hand gripping the small, wooden handle of a blade tucked into his waistband. I pushed Liam past him, shouting, "Run! Now!" We broke into a desperate sprint back toward the scooter. The guide was fast, yelling now, but we were fueled by raw panic. We hit the parking spot, fumbling with the key. It wouldn't turn. And then the jungle exploded. 3 more people burst out of the trees, flanking our bike. Before the key finally turned, they were on us. Hands grabbed the handlebars. They were yanking at Liam's backpack. One man was slamming his fist against my helmet. The scooter sputtered to life. I kicked the stand up, twisted the throttle to its absolute limit, and Liam screamed as we fishtailed out of the parking lot, hitting one of our attackers as we tore back onto the main road. We didn't slow down for an hour. We were covered in sweat and red dust, our bodies shaking, knowing that for 2 days in a row, we had barely, impossibly outrun something that wanted to hurt us.
The 8-hour flight to Istanbul didn't feel like travel. It felt like being sealed into a metal coffin with recycled air. Economy was packed, loud, cramped. I was pinned in the middle seat, a 5'0" woman, wedged between 2 men whose shoulders both ignored the existence of personal space. The guy on my right minded his business. The man on my left didn't. He was huge, his arm anchored against mine, like he was trying to fuse our bones together. His fingernails were torn, uneven, and he kept scraping at the dry skin on his knuckles, letting the flakes fall onto his tray table. He muttered to himself in a rhythmic, low voice, like someone rehearsing lines only he understood. I put in my headphones, opened American Horror Story, Asylum, and cranked the volume up. If I couldn't escape the seat, maybe I could escape the atmosphere. I made it 20 minutes before he leaned in. Not a casual lean, a deliberate one, slow enough for me to feel the warmth of his breath against the shell of my ear. "Why are you watching that?" I jerked my head so fast the earbuds nearly ripped out. "Sorry?" His eyes were locked on me, too still, too calculating. Like he wasn't watching the screen, he was watching my reaction. "The show," he said. "It's funny how people pretend the ones who skin others alive are monsters." A pause. His lips barely twitched. "Most of us just hide it better." My spine went rigid. I didn't move, didn't blink. There were 7 hours left in the flight. I forced out a joke-sounding noise, something brittle and pathetic. "Just TV. Not real, you know?" He didn't reply. He didn't need to. For the rest of the flight, I sat frozen. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. My arm was locked in place beneath his, going numb. Every slight movement he made, adjusting his seatbelt, cracking his knuckles, shifting his leg, felt like a threat coded into body language. I watched the seatback map obsessively, counting down every mile. When the wheels hit the runway in Istanbul, the relief was so violent it felt like vertigo. I grabbed my bag and bolted before the seatbelt sign finished chiming. I didn't look at him again. Didn't want to see his eyes a second time. Customs, baggage claim, taxi, distance. That was the only thing I cared about. I told myself he was just a creepy stranger, a bad story, a weird coincidence. That lie lasted exactly 1 month. I was repacking for my return flight to New York, cleaning out the tote bag I'd stuffed under the seat in front of me during that nightmare flight. My fingers brushed something stiff, paper, folded deep inside the lining. Not mine. I unfolded it. The handwriting was thin, cramped, the kind that crawls instead of writes. "I wish I could see what you look like under your skin." My stomach lurched so hard I had to sit down. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't imagining things. He had leaned over me, touched my bag, watched me sleep. I spent the next month flinching at every sound, every door closing, every unfamiliar footstep in the hallway. Logic didn't matter anymore. Fear made its own rules. The real ending didn't come until my sister sent me a link. "Isn't this the airport you flew into?" It was a news article, a mugshot, a headline about a man arrested in Istanbul for kidnapping, murder. I didn't even need to enlarge the picture. It was him, the man from seat 23B, the one who said we all hide the urge to skin someone alive. And the only thought that cut through my nausea was the one I'd been avoiding since the flight. He didn't talk to me because he was weird. He talked to me because he was choosing.
I checked into the hotel just before sunset, the kind of polished place where the lobby smells like money and disinfectant. The front desk clerk smiled too long when she handed me the key card. "Just so you know," she added quietly, "the man who helped with your luggage, he doesn't work here." She said it like she didn't want the words to exist. That statement stuck in my head like a splinter all the way up to room 1508. Inside, the room looked perfectly normal. Crisp sheets, sealed glasses, the faint hum of the AC. But there was something else too, a subtle unease, as if the room had been waiting for me all day. I took a quick shower and stretched out on the bed, planning a short nap before exploring. The city noise 15 floors below was barely a vibration. For a moment, everything seemed still. Then, knock, knock, not loud, not polite, just deliberate. A man's voice followed, low and rough, pressed right up against the door. Housekeeping. My pulse jolted. I hadn't asked for anything. I just checked in. I moved to the peephole silently, the way someone moves during a nightmare they haven't admitted is real. The hallway was empty. No cart, no shadow, no one. I didn't blink as I backed away. My hands were already dialing the front desk. Did you send housekeeping to 1508? No, sir, not at this time. That sir landed too sharply, like she was suddenly alert. Security came, did the usual useless sweep, and left with a shrug. I locked the deadbolt, clicked the latch, and slid my small suitcase against the door. Not because I thought it would stop anyone, but because I needed to know if the door moved. I left the TV playing quietly. A distraction, a cover, a decoy. I tried to sleep. Maybe an hour passed, maybe less. I drifted into that half-dream where every sound feels underwater. Then came a sound that was not from the TV. A tiny metallic dip. Too soft to be a knock, too deliberate to be two. A master key sliding into the lock. My eyes snapped open. The door didn't slam. It eased inward in near silence, the suitcase rolling just an inch, exactly enough for my stomach to drop. A figure stepped inside, tall, careful, a shape made of patience and darkness. He didn't breathe loudly. He didn't speak. He just moved, like someone who had watched this room long enough to memorize it. The moonlight caught the brim of a baseball cap. Nothing else of his face was visible behind the black mask. I stayed perfectly still. Every instinct I had screamed to run, but I knew any sudden motion would be the moment he stopped being quiet. I felt the mattress dip behind me. That was the moment the fear became real enough to taste. I rolled off the bed and hit the floor hard, my shoulder exploding in pain. But pain meant movement, and movement meant survival. A hand shot out, grazing the back of my neck. Cold leather, steady grip. He wasn't panicking. He had done this before. I screamed. Not a movie scream. A raw, primal, unpolished sound that ripped itself out of my lungs. There was a violent pause, like the room itself inhaled. Then pounding on the door, heavy, urgent. "Hotel security, open the door." The masked man froze. His whole plan evaporated in an instant. He bolted, sweeping past me so fast the air shifted. He slipped into the hallway before I even pushed myself all the way up. The door slammed, and he vanished, leaving only the lingering cold from outside clinging to the room. Security burst in seconds later, lights on, walkie-talkies blaring. But he was already gone. One detail, though, right beside the bed, on the carpet where he'd crouched, lay something he hadn't meant to leave behind. A hotel master key card, and on its label, my room number, written in someone else's handwriting. If you want to send us your story, please reach out in the comment section, and every contribution is appreciated.